In his last few seconds of life, Alton Sterling seemed completely immobile. To Baton Rouge, Louisiana, police officers had pinned him to the floor, flat on his back. But even as Sterling seemed completely unable to move, one of the police officers yelled, "He's got a gun?" Within seconds, an officer shot Sterling, who was still pinned to the ground by the cops. Sterling died of multiple gunshot wounds, according to an autopsy. After a bystander released video of the shooting, people quickly protested in the area and voiced their anger on social media. Several people went to the convenience store where Sterling was shot, holding up Black Lives Matter and Hands Up, Don't Shoot signs, Maya Loud Brinstol reported for The Advocate. Sterling's death is the latest in a long string of police shootings to lead to outrage, particularly from the Black Lives Matter and racial justice movements against racial disparities in the criminal justice system. To many critics, it is just another example of an issue that quickly rose to the national spotlight after the police shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, in August 2014. Police officers shot Alton Sterling while he was seemingly pinned to the ground, unable to move. According to The Advocate, Baton Rouge police officers Blaine Salamone and Howie Lake responded to a call at a convenience store around 12:35 a.m. on Tuesday after receiving an anonymous tip that a man in a red shirt who was selling CDs had pointed a gun at someone. Sterling, a 37-year-old black man, matched part of the description. He sold CDs, and he was wearing a red shirt. Two cell phone videos recorded by bystanders, one published by the Daily Beast after the shooting drew national attention, show what happened next. Two police officers yelled at Sterling to get on the ground. The officers then pulled him to the ground, pinning Sterling on his back. An officer yelled, "He's got a gun?" One officer aimed his gun at Sterling's chest at virtually point-blank range. Within seconds, at least one officer opened fire, even though Sterling looks completely pinned down and unable to move. One officer then pulled out an object, it's not clear what it is, from Sterling's right pants pocket. Sterling was pronounced dead shortly after. Shop owner Abdullah Muflahi told The Advocate that the officers were aggressive from the start, and that Sterling was armed but was not holding his gun and didn't have his hand near his pocket at the time of the shooting. District Attorney Hiller Moore said the officers felt completely justified in shooting. Both officers are on administrative leave, per Baton Rouge Police Department policy, and an investigation, led by the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, is underway. Both officers were reportedly wearing body cameras, and the police car had a dashboard camera as well. As The Advocate reported, Sterling had a criminal record. But Sterling's previous convictions aren't what's relevant to the shooting. It's whether he was holding and trying to use a gun on the officers at the time he was shot. The legal standard for use of force requires officers to reasonably perceive a threat at the moment of use of force. Since Sterling was seemingly immobile in the videos of the shooting, critics argue that he was not in fact a threat, and the shooting is another example of excessive use of force against a black man.